Good, thanks for joining me. This is the Adobe Fikemba. I told you in this channel, I'll teach you physics, chemistry, and biology. So today we're learning biology. So I have to leave that. So biology. So we're looking at so today we're looking at biology. And in biology, we've been talking about cells, okay? And I told you, I said in the previous video, we said cell is a basic structural and functional unit of life. And then we said that the study of cell is known as cytology. So cytology. When you study cell, it's known as cytology, okay? Okay, so the cell is made up of the living component of the cell is called the protoplasm. The protoplasm, okay? The living component of the cell is called the what? The protoplasm. The protoplasm is furtherly grouped into three parts, which is the cell membrane, which is the outer part of the protoplasm. Also, we have the cytoplasm. Okay, cytoplasm. This part of the protoplasm is very light, transparent, and predominantly made of water. And the next one is the nucleus. Okay, so this is the outer part of the protoplasm. The cytoplasm is this part of the protoplasm that is made up of what we call inclusions. I'm just giving you a breakdown before we move to the next thing. Inclusions and cell organelles. Okay, cell organelles. So the cytoplasm is made up of inclusions and cell organelles. Example of inclusion includes starch granules, and you also have glycogen granules. These are examples, glycogen granules, okay? They are good examples of inclusions. Then when you talk about your cell organelles, you're talking about your mitochondria, your vacuole, you're talking about your ribosome, your lysosome, Golgi body, as the case may be, okay? And then you also have the nucleus. Now, in the nucleus is made up of what we call the nucleoplasm, which is the fluid matrix of the nucleus, the nucleoplasm. And then in the nucleoplasm, you have what we call the nucleolus, okay? The nucleolus is the little nucleus. And this nucleolus is a structure, it is non-membranous. The nucleus is membranous, meaning that's why it has what we call nuclear membrane, okay? And this nuclear membrane is filled with what? Tiny spores around it. And these spores are called nuclear spores, okay? Nuclear pores, rather, not spores, pores. That pores like holes that communicate between the nucleus and the cytoplasm, because the exchange of material takes place between the nucleus and the cytoplasm through the nuclear pore in the nuclear membrane. Is that clear? Then there are also some tiny structures. We call it chromatin granules. These structures are what helps the cell to be able to do what? To carry out genetic materials, okay? Traits or features that can be transmitted to the next cell, as the case may be. So this is just a rough breakdown of what we've been talking about cell. I'm just trying to do that. Now, the reason why I explain all these things about what cell is and what the component of the cell looks like, go and watch my video part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, as the case may be. We've been describing cells. Now we want to look at forms in which cells exist. Forms in which cells exist. Forms in which cells exist. Now, when you talk about the forms in which cells exist, you are trying to talk about how these cells can be independent, okay, and also how they can be interdependent. When you're looking at forms in which cells exist, you're looking at the relationship between the independent nature of cells, independent versus interdependent. independent. Now, let me explain what this thing means. When you say a cell is independent, it means in that state, the cell can carry out all life processes on its own. Okay? It can carry life processes on its own, no matter how simple the cell looks like. But when you say the cell is interdependent, it simply means the cell shows a relationship with another cell to make an organism to have a better life processes observation. So in this case, independent talks about the cell existing on its own and carrying out life processes on its own. Interdependent talks about this cell that was initially independent becoming what? The cell becoming what? Having what we call cell division of labor, meaning this cell will carry out a particular function, this one will carry its own function. For example, the cells in the eyes, you have the rods and the cones. The cells in the eyes, they will be found in the eyes. They have a function to help us see, to describe colors as the case may be. Now, you also have cells, nerve cells. Theirs will be to help to transmit impulses. You can see now they are all cells, but they will work in conjunction with the various cells as the case may be. That is where what we talk about interdependence. So when you talk about forms in which cells exist, summarize it as the behavior of cells when they stay on their own and the behavior of cells when they work together. So when they stay on their own is independent. When they work together is interdependent. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Good. So let's move on now. Number one form in which a cell can exist. A cell can exist as what we call free living. Free living. Or we call it single units. They can exist as free living or single units. And when they do like that, we call them unicellular. Please follow me quickly. Okay? With the speed of light. So when you say a cell is free living or single unit, therefore they are called unicellular. Unicellular organisms are organisms with just one cell. Uni means one. Cellular means cell. So organisms with what? One cell. And in this case, if these organisms have one cell, they are called what? Free living single unit. And in that case, that one cell or that single unit of a cell has the ability to do what? To carry out life processes such as feeding, such as reproduction, and let's say excretion. So once they are able to do all of these life processes, characteristics as the case may be, they are free living single units and they are called unicellular. They can carry out these life processes, feeding, reproduction, excretion. An example of some cell is what? Amoeba, amoeba proteus. Amoeba it has shape. Don't say it's shapeless. Okay? Textbooks in the past or information in the past based on discovery, more study about the organism, they will say it's shapeless in the past. But recent times is not shapeless. The answer is you can say amoeba have a what? A varying shape. Don't say it's shapeless. Amoeba has a varying shape and it can be influenced by maybe when it sees a food particles as the case may be or when it's responding to a stimulus as the case may be. So amoeba is what? Has a varying shape. At some point in time, it can form any structure. Another one again is what? Paramecium. Paramecium cordatum. This one is a slipper-shaped what? Organism. Okay? It's a protozoa. This is also a protozoa. Okay? They are animal-like protists. This Paramecium and amoeba, they are animal-like protists. You have Chlamydomonas. This Chlamydomonas varies. Okay? This one is a plant-like protist. Then you also have Euglena viridis. Euglena. They are also what? They are also what we call they are protists that shows both plant features and animal features. For those of us that have not seen what amoeba looks like, look at what amoeba looks like. A rough structure about an amoeba. Okay, can you see? Good. So you have something like this. You have something like this. Just looking at what amoeba looks like, okay? You have something like this. Then around here, this is your vacuole. Then here you have another type again, okay? Then you have here the central nucleus as the case may be, okay? So here, we call it ectoplasm. Why this part is called endoplasm? This place is called your cytoplasm, okay? Cytoplasm. Then here you have your nucleus. You can see I'm trying to label to one side. Around this region here, you have what we call your food vacuole. Food vacuole. It's just a rough sketch, okay? Just follow me. And here you have what we call your contractile vacuole for osmoregulation. You have contractile, okay, vacuole, which is used for what? Osmoregulation, as the case may be. That's what the amoeba looks like. Now let's look at what paramecium looks like. Paramecium looks somewhat like this. Okay? Paramecium looks somewhat like this. Then you have a structure, tiny structure. Can you see? Okay, good, you can see. So I'm just trying to rush it up so that you can know. The paramecium is slipper shape, okay? Slipper. Have you seen the slippers before? That's one you wear to your bedroom. That's what the paramecium looks like. Okay, so around there, you have what we call, this is the anterior contractile vacuole, okay? This is what it looks like. Then you have another vacuole here. We call it posterior what? Contractile vacuole. You have something like this here. Okay, this one is your posterior. Then around there, you have what we call the meganucleus. Then here is your micronucleus. Can you see it now? Then outside the part of the, you have what we call the cilia. Okay, around this part, the oral groove, the cilia is modified. The essence of the cilia modified is so that it can be able to help with the water current to move in food particles into the oral groove. Okay, so this is what your paramecium will look like. Paramecium chordatum. Can you see that now? Then around here, I have a structure like this. Good. Okay. This is cytostole. This side is your gullet. Gullet. This is oral groove. Okay. Oral groove. This one is your posterior. Is your posterior contractile vacuole. Okay. This one is called meganucleus. Meganucleus. This is called micronucleus. Okay. For those of you who have not seen it in SS1, this is what it looks like. Okay. You have other features here. This thing here out is called your cilia. It's used for movement. Okay. Is that clear? This one is anterior. Anterior contractile. Contractile what? Vacuole. Okay. Then we also have what we call the chlamydomonas rivalis. Chlamydomonas rivalis. Okay, let me see if I can do that here for you. Chlamydomonas rivalis look like this. Okay. In our next video, we'll look at the other part of this. You have Chlamydomonas rivalis, somewhat like this. Then it has a structure such as this. So you have something like this, and then it has a cup-shaped chloroplast, okay? And it has this, then you have another structure here. This is the piney rod, where starch are stored. The piney rod is the region where starch are stored. That's the structure here. We call it eye spot, okay? So why this is your what? Eye spot. This is your what? Flagellum. When it is the two, we call it flagella plura. This is your nucleus. Okay, just a rough sketch. This is your chloroplast, a cup-shaped chloroplast. And then you have what we call your pineroid. Okay, where starch are stored. Then around there, you have what we call your cell wall. So this is your cell wall. Can you see that now? So this is what the Chlamydomonas rivalis looks like. Then let me show you the last one before we call it a day. Euglena viridis. Looks somewhat like this. Look at this. Okay. Okay, this is what the euglena looks like. Okay, the euglena is oblong in shape. Is that clear? So you have a structure as this. Bring it down. Okay, so take it up again like that. The euglena also have what is it called? Contractile vacuole around this region. Then it has a form of chloroplast. We call it chloroplast bands. Okay, something somewhat like this. Okay, then you have the nucleus around this region. Okay. Okay, so why this is your what? Flagellum. This is your contractile what? Vacuole. This is your what? Chloroplast band. Then you have what we call, this one is called your nucleus. And then you have this structure here. We call it pellicle. Okay, we have pellicle. Then there's something again I wanted to add. Okay, about added, there's eye spots. It has eye spot. So this is your eye spot. Okay, very sensitive eye spot. Is that clear? So you have, yes, you have some tiny structures here. These structures, we call it paramylum granules. Okay, paramylum what? Granules. Okay, this is just a sketch. So these are examples. Another example again that you can see in what's it called? In free living single unit or unicellular organism is what? Amoeba bacteria. Bacteria somewhat looks somewhat like this. Okay, it has flagellum, as the case may be, down, cells and all that. Okay, just a sketch like that. This is what it will look like. Okay, there's no time. I'm just rushing. So bacteria is, I'll soon start having, I'll have a class now. So bacteria is also an example of free living or single unit. In the next video, we're going to look at colony. We're going to look at filamental cells, colonies, filamental cells, and we're going to look at cell existing as part of an organism, which we call multicellular. I'd like you to follow me. I'd like you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'd also like you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Adobe Fikemba. Find me, Adobe Fikemba, okay? Fi, then Kem, then B-E, Fikemba. Thank you. I hope you do enjoy the class. See you. Thank you.